Hi everyone, I'm Bo. I was just on Buck Angel's channel and I wanted to come on YouTube and make just a handful of other videos. This one is how to detransition, at least socially, because when I went looking for how to detransition on the internet, there was nothing. I wanted a step-by-step guide and I couldn't find anything close to that. So this is my version. I hope you like it and I hope someone finds it helpful. So my step one is to realize that you want to detransition. And that sounds really obvious, but what I mean is like say it to yourself out loud, because that's actually surprisingly really helpful in just solidifying, like even if you say it and you don't actually want to, you will realize that because you said it out loud to yourself. As soon as I said I want to go back to she, her out loud to my reflection, it was like, oh, it was just a total wake up moment of like, oh yeah, this is the right course of action. Admitting that you were wrong really sucks, so you gotta admit it to yourself first, and that's always step one. Okay, so my step two would be to, again, in your own room, in your own space, without other people around, get used to dressing how you want to dress in your assigned gender, because I think a lot of it for me was being uncomfortable with the clothes I was wearing and not my gender. So, dress up in the mirror the way you think you want to, dress up in the mirror in your old clothes, just figure yourself out, because people are going to be upset that you're changing again. You don't have to bring it into the world, just do it for you, is the main piece of point two. Just do things in your room that make you happy. My step three is to drop the gender affirming gear. So if you're packing, stop packing. If you're binding, stop binding. I just went back to the dysphoria hoodie for like a week before I even considered like wearing my feminine clothing. Just try how it feels to stop doing all the things that were affirming your gender and just try living the way you are naturally, and just literally just try it for a week and stick to it for a week, because it will feel uncomfortable at first, but you will feel better at the end of it, I promise. So my fourth step is the last step before you bring it out into the world and you start telling people that you want to detransition. Just become aware of the types of people around you. Be aware of how many of your friends are going to try and convince you that you're still trans. Be aware of how many people are going to be really supportive, but it's only because they're crazy right-wing. Like, just be aware of who's actually there to support you and who's there to support their team and who's there that isn't really privy to all of it and isn't going to be a good influence either way. Just make sure that you know what's happening for you before you bring it to other people, because they will confuse you more. Alright, now it's step 5. Easily the worst part for me. The part that I hated the most and felt the most awful. Bringing it to other people and admitting that you were wrong. Really, really gross. So, there's going to be a handful of people. There's going to be people that are really upset at you because you're leaving their group, your trans friends. There's going to be people that are really, really happy for you, and those people are normally your family because they recognize that it wasn't really you. And then there are people who are going to be really, really supportive, but they don't actually care about you. They're the opposite of your trans friends. They're right-wing ideologues, and they only care about the fact that you're leaving the other side and not that you went through something. So there's different ways to deal with the different groups. The people that kick you out because you're leaving their group and they are upset with you, they were never your friends, they were your allies, and allies don't make good friends outside of the time that you needed them. Yeah, they're your trans friends. If they're kicking you out, they're a write-off. I'm sorry. Don't even bother fighting. To deal with the conservatives, again, like, a lot of this is just having a thick skin. You just have to tell them to go away. And your family, that's where it gets a little complicated. You need to give them grace, even if they didn't give you much when you were transitioning or whatever. You've now asked them to change how they address you twice. Like, you need to understand that it is, for a lot of people, that is a big deal. And, there is some just placating. You need to say, I'm sorry, a lot, to a lot of people. Even if you didn't really do anything wrong, like, it's less of a, I'm sorry for something I did, and I think you need to think of it as an, I'm sorry that this happened. At least that's how I treat it, because it wasn't my fault. I was 16, which is, we'll get into that, but, it also wasn't theirs. So, you need to give them some leeway. I find the term, when I see people that I used to know while I was using he, him, I figured some shit out, and I say that all the time to everybody that I see that hasn't seen me yet back to she, her. And it's a little embarrassing every time, but it's still better 99% of the time than when I was trans. So, part of it's just you gotta deal with it. The last thing that I find helpful is reminding yourself, like I said, that you were probably 16, you were probably a literal child who doesn't know more than what they've been told. Do you blame any 16-year-olds now for any decisions that they make? Not really. I don't personally. I have friends that are 16. I don't really hold them to much because they're 16. You need to remember that you were probably I'm assuming you were also 16, and you were a child. It wasn't your fault. That's the end of it. You were being manipulated, and you need to remember that, and a lot of detransition is just reminding yourself that over and over and over again, that you were a child. They had no business, and it wasn't your fault that it happened. So with that, that is the end of my video. I hope somebody found it helpful. It's probably pretty short, but I don't know. I would have liked something. So thanks for watching, and I hope you check out another one.